From the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Tuesday, July 9th. I'm Abby Larico. Missouri's child welfare system has struggled to perform essential functions over the years, but after hiring more staff and making other changes, state officials say fewer foster kids are languishing in the system. Parents and foster care advocates say kids need consistency in order to thrive.
The longer that they are out of a home just increases the likelihood for poorer outcomes.
Coming up on The Gateway, we'll learn more about what state officials are doing to lessen the number of foster kids who linger in the system, and hear an advocate's story of overcoming as a former foster kid herself. A St. Louis judge has ruled Washington University does not have to hand over unredacted health records of transgender patients to Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Fenton reports Bailey has sought the records as part of his investigation into treatment for transgender minors.
Circuit Court Judge Joseph White last week denied Bailey's request for health records of patients at the Washington University Transgender Center. The Attorney General is investigating the care the center provided to transgender patients under 18. A former worker claimed the center rushed children into taking hormones and other treatment. WashU turned over records that had been stripped of identifying information, but Bailey asked the university to turn over unredacted records that included patient names, procedures, and other health information. White wrote Bailey's request fell outside the state merchandising law he cited as basis for his request. The judge ruled the request also violated HIPAA, the federal law that protects the privacy of health records. I'm Sarah Fenton, St. Louis Public Radio.
Bailey says he may appeal the decision. St. Louis voters could move elections for offices like alderman or mayor to August and November. Currently, city voters go to the polls in March and April for some city offices. A proposal from the St. Louis Charter Commission would move those contests to either August and November of even-numbered years or August and November of odd-numbered years. The commission voted Monday to forward versions of that idea to the Board of Aldermen, as well as proposals to bolster the Board of Aldermen's budgetary power. If aldermen approve these measures, city voters would need to provide at least 60% approval for any change to the city's charter later this year. Former President Donald Trump has weighed in on a contested primary for a congressional seat that includes part of the St. Louis metro area. St. Louis Public Radio's Jason Rosenbaum reports.
Trump wrote on Truth Social that he's backing Bob Onder in the GOP primary for Missouri's 3rd congressional district. In a statement, Trump said the former state senator had his, quote, complete and total endorsement and will not let Republicans in the district down. Onder is making his second bid for Congress to represent a district that includes parts of Warren, St. Charles, and Jefferson counties. He lost a bitterly contested primary in 2008 to current 3rd District Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer. Luetkemeyer has endorsed former Senator Kurt Schaefer, who represented a Columbia area state Senate seat from 2009 to 2017. I'm Jason Rosenbaum, St. Louis Public Radio.
Remnants of Hurricane Beryl are expected to produce heavy rain and flooding in the St. Louis region today. St. Louis Public Radio's Madison Holcomb reports on the warnings from the National Weather Service in St. Louis.
The St. Louis region is expected to get around 2 to 4 inches of rain from the storm. Meteorologists say the area is especially prone to flooding because soils are already saturated and not able to hold much water after the city received a heavy amount of rain last week. Lydia Jaja is a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in St. Louis. She says it's dangerous to drive in floodwaters and strongly advises against it.
Even if you think that it's really not that deep or the water's not even moving, you don't know that until you're swept away.
Jaja recommends turning on weather emergency alerts on your phone and having an alternate route if you live near lowlands or low water crossings. I'm Madison Holcomb, St. Louis Public Radio.
The number of kids in foster care in Missouri is dwindling, and officials say it's a good sign due to intentional changes made within the Children's Division of the State Department of Social Services. St. Louis Public Radio's Lacretia Wimbley spoke with one woman who spent more than 10 years as a foster kid in Missouri.
Tricia Gordon was placed into foster care at 11 years old and aged out of the system at 21. But before her foster care journey, she was born prematurely in the 1970s to a teen mom who had become pregnant by a man 30 years her senior. There was little to eat at home, and her father was not only physically abusive to her mom, but to her as well. She says it was her mom who taught her how to survive.
I can remember sitting in the alleyways waiting to people to discard food, because my mom kind of showed me like how to live on the streets, like, hey, here's what you do, you wait till the rats scary. Like, I knew how to like search the trash cans. I just knew how to survive.
After surviving a fire at her parents' home in the mid to late 80s, Gordon was placed into the custody of the state. Like many foster kids, adjusting was tough.
What they considered dysfunction was my normal. I mean, it was perfect, like the home, but it was like, I didn't know these people. And then it's like, you got to go to school, you got to take a bath, you got to comb your hair. All the things that I was not used to. So it was really a struggle. And I miss my mom.
Gordon is one of thousands of adults who aged out of the system here in Missouri. And according to the State Department of Social Services, that number is shrinking. Daryl Missy is the director of the state's Children's Division. He says there were just under 12,000 kids in foster care at the end of June, and only a handful are still without placement. That's compared to more than 14,000 in foster care at the end of 2021.
It's been steadily coming down since we have initiated our work here.
Two things were identified as needing change when Missy took office in 2022. An inability to recruit and retain frontline workers, and a lack of crucial staffing needed to operate a proactive and holistic child welfare system.
What I heard from people is that they wanted to stay, but they could barely afford to. People were having trouble with the salary that we had. And some websites listed our salaries in Missouri as the lowest in the union.
Missy says the state's Children's Division now has roughly 2,000 employees, which is almost at full staffing capacity. He says the extra hands are making a difference.
We work prevention and we work to try to help families on the front end, and we also work to make sure that we get kids where they need to be in a prompt manner without spending years mired in the system on the back end.
About 5,000 of the foster kids in Missouri are staying with grandparents. Some are with other relatives, and others are placed in non-family homes. Less than 5 kids were staying at hotels awaiting placement at the end of June. But these circumstances can be detrimental to kids' self-esteem, self-worth, and overall development, says Heather Craig. Craig has fostered over 30 kids and is a recruiter for Respond, a nonprofit that educates and recruits Black St. Louisans to be foster parents.
The system is not a home. The system is not permanent. The longer that they are out of a home just increases the likelihood for poor outcomes. We already have kids that are in care. They graduate high school at a lower rate. They are less likely to attend college, coupled with everything else.
But that isn't Gordon's story. And she says it doesn't have to be anyone else's either. After aging out of the system, she learned to redefine words as a means to take control of her own narrative. She encouraged foster youth to accept the challenge and move beyond any adversity in their lives.
Foster for me is, despite the heartache and despite everything I went through, it is a acronym. And it's a constant reminder of, since foster care is no longer available, how do you find and fulfill opportunities that will strengthen you, continue to teach you, empower you, restore or release what you need to move forward when you're stuck in life? And whatever situation you're going through right now, this is just a temporary challenge, right, that you're being prepared for something bigger.
In addition to being a public speaker, Gordon is giving back to the foster care system as the Chief Growth Officer at the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition, among other endeavors. I'm Lacretia Wimbley, St. Louis Public Radio.
Our Brian Moline edited that piece. The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Abby Larico, and from the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this has been The Gateway. Stay dry out there today.